Hey y'all! New day, new verses as we continue on into chapter 13. Today we're doing the parables of the hidden treasure and the pearl, verses 44 through 46. And I really enjoy these because apart, they show something fun. Together, they show something mind-blowing and wonderful. Let's dig in. The kingdom of heaven, 44. The kingdom of heaven is like a treasure that a man discovered hidden in a field. In his excitement, he hid it again and sold everything he owned to get enough money to buy the field. Again, 45. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant who was on the lookout for choice pearls. When he discovered a pearl of great value, he sold everything he owned and bought it. And the reason I see that separately they tell something together even better. Because if you think about it, it's like a treasure that a man discovers hidden in a field. So he finds this gem of treasure that is so unfathomably pouring out of riches that anything else he has comparatively is mud. Anything else she has comparatively is mud. They go right for wanting that field because of everything that's in it. And so anything else doesn't really matter. Shirt off the back, where you live, clothes you eat, food you eat, clothes you wear, food you eat. None of those actually matter. Not compared to the treasures of the kingdom of heaven. And so when chasing after it, after having a true taste of that freedom, a true taste of that love and that faith and that joy and that everything that he pours out into us, when you have a taste of that, when you experience it, you want to stay with it. And it almost seems like an illustration of saying, when you've truly had a taste of it, when you've truly found this treasure, you'll understand. You'll grok completely. You'll get why selling everything you own for this one field is so important to him. Because the treasure is that rich. And so to me, it's this encouragement of saying, hold on. Keep pursuing, keep chasing after. Because you're going to find something of real value. The world doesn't have anything to offer that regard. The playground we live in is quite beautiful, absolutely. But the world, the principalities, the structure, the spirits that those principalities and people generally worship, they have no value. They're things that fade away. Kingdoms that eventually rise and fall. We are a species that is temporary. We're here and then gone, like a flash. How much more so are the things we put our hand to going to be here today and gone tomorrow? It may take a little longer on the human time scale of things. I mean, look at the fact that the pyramids and the Great Pyramid of Giza is still there and several other ancient wonders. At the same time, the Sahara Desert is composed of sand made up of what used to be the Appalachian Mountains. If even the mountains, something that in our mind is firm and resolute and not going anywhere, is as dust on the Lord's time scale, then why would anything we make have a chance? We spend a lot of our time trying to, I want to be remembered in this world. Well, why not be remembered by God? Why not be known by God? Why not be in an intimate relationship with the one who created you, rather than be remembered by people who barely hold on to their own story, let alone the truth? I mean, history is written by the victors. It's often quite rare that you'll find anything that has an iota of personal truth in it, more than you will find propaganda. And so if the writers aren't even telling the truth, why not go to the one who is the source of all truth? Because in relationship with him, he'll correct everything that you're wondering about. He'll correct, he'll lead, he'll guide. You gotta let him know. And as far as the second parable, in the same place, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant on the lookout for choice pearls. Well, that kind of flips it around then a little bit. And the reason I say it's rather beautiful is because When the merchant discovered a pearl of great value, he sold everything he owned and bought it. When I was little and I first read these verses together, I was like, oh, wonderful, it's the King's Chronicles issue. We did this once before. Whoop-de-doo. But the more I've dug into him, the more I've asked him to learn me truth. Well, this section here doesn't scream a repetition of the first verse of 45. Instead, it almost seems like an invitation to look at it slightly different. Because if the kingdom of heaven is like the merchant looking for choice pearls, that would mean that this choice merchant sold everything they had to get these pearls, knowing what the pearls would eventually become. So even if there's still little pearls inside the oyster, knowing what it eventually would become, it kind of gives a nod, an allusion with an A, to Jesus dying in our place. Like the kingdom of heaven is the merchant on the lookout for choice pearls. In this analogy, we're very much the pearls. And what I mean by that is to say God sees the true value in you, even if you don't see it yourself. Even if you're just sitting here going, well, God could never rescue me. Why would he want to in the first place? Love. That is the entire driving idea here. The very nature of the three in one God is other-centered love. So this pearl merchant is on the lookout for choice pearls, seeing what they will become, seeing what they have the potential to grow up into be. Because if he's just buying and selling for a pearl of similar value, well, then he's just trying to upsell the one thing. But if instead it's an invitation to read deeper, then suddenly it's an acknowledgement that Jesus not only died in our place, he did so when we were a bit of sand inside the clam, not a full pearl yet. That he wants intimate relationship with all of us because he made us. And so the two of these together almost seem to say that if we, as the creation, have a taste of our Father's kingdom, we're going to chase after it with everything we have, which is true. If you've tasted and seen, you're going to want nothing else, because nothing else compares. And if you know what I'm talking about, you know. If you don't, this is an invitation to seek out the real kingdom. Because when you've tasted that kind of shalom and that kind of hope, well, selling everything you've got to get that field, well, it just makes sense. It makes complete sense because you know what's there. You know the unfathomable depth of the love, unfathomable breadth and width. Love that when you're in the middle of it is so broad and expanse that you're just like, wow, you could go on forever in this and never hit an edge. But that it's also God saying, I want you. I died for you. I've chosen you. I laid it all down for you. That's beautiful. That's an even deeper nod to relationship. Because that's saying that in the same moment that the person is going after the treasure in the field and the merchant going after the pearl, well, it's almost the Song of Songs, isn't it? Where God is saying he's pursuing us like a lover that wants such an intimate relationship as for us to know him as intimately as he knows us. Because the Song of Songs is beautiful poetry, and it's very raunchy, a little naughty, but its intent is something so beautiful. Because it's not just how two lovers should pursue each other, it's how the living God pursues us. And how he wants us to pursue him. I mean, especially if we're going to say that Jesus is the lover of our soul, our first love, then why are we not pursuing him with that same kind of vigor? That same kind of longing? That same kind of need for interpersonal connection? Because if we truly believe it, and we truly mean it in our hearts, well then of course we're going to want that intimate relationship. And if we don't mean it in our hearts, why are we saying it in the first place? It strikes me that as things go, the world, it gets crazier by the day. And last one, if you're needing, pretty good read. It's Revelation, not Revelations. It's just a heads up. Give it a read if you're concerned about that. Because it nods into Daniel, it nods into a couple other places, and just recognizes that the real battle we're in here is a spiritual one. That when the world gets crazier, we should be rejoicing about the fact that God's truth is being revealed. Because it's going to be. And it is getting revealed. Truth will always win out. It may take a moment to be seen, but it always wins out. And so even digging into the truth of the fact that God pursues us in intimate love, and we have the opportunity to pursue him, it's an invitation. And so these two parables together are not just explaining to me the relationship between how the kingdom of heaven works. It's explaining to me how intimate relationships with God work. And how they're supposed to look. And how they're supposed to work. And that we have an invitation at all times to come to know him intimately. He wants us. The big thing for us is that we generally don't want him. If we did, we'd be living different. We'd be living forward the same mercy we're shown. We'd be living forward the same love we're shown. And it's not an admonishment to say, oh, look at you, you suck. No. Never. It is to say, if we can own it, we can move forward. Because if you're building a wall, and you've got a brick that's out of square, eventually the entire wall is going to be slightly off because of that one brick. It does no one any form of good lying about the condition of the brick. You just damage the wall. Instead, let the brick be set right in its proper place. And then everything that builds on top of it after is going to be in a more proper place. It's not an admonishment. It's saying, hey, let's get a moment to go, okay, let me be real with you, God, because you already know. Thank you for giving me a reality check so that I could dig into you. Because all of it is an invitation to dig into the Lord. All of it is him saying, I'm here. Have a relationship with me. I know everything about you. Don't you at least want to know something about me? And I promise you, even in the face of all the questions you have, I promise you, even in the face of those difficulties and those trials and those struggles, that God has an answer. That he will see you through, and that he is greater than what you're dealing with. And that, like the merchant, he knows your choice pearl, and he wants you. Doesn't matter if you're still that bit of grain of sand in the clam or in the oyster. God sees what you become, what you will become, what you always were without the world's baggage shaping you into something different. To borrow from yesterday, we're wheat. Why not grow? Because that's what we're invited to do daily. I will see you guys tomorrow as we continue the parables, or rather finish them off for a little bit, with the parable of the fishing net, which is verses 47 through 52. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm sure you are too. May his favor be upon you. Know that you are loved, and know that if you dig into him, he will dig right back into you. It may be painful when he takes some of those old damaged areas and brings them into the light. But healing isn't the most comfortable thing in the world. It is a necessary thing, though. And it's something he will walk you through. Because when you've had a taste of him, even a single taste, and you chase after him wanting more of it, he has that same kind of chase after you. More than. All we have to do is turn around and walk into the arms that have been open for us the entire time. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Know that you are loved and hold strong. Because even in the face of storm, God is able to quiet the storm, walk across the wave, and rest in the boat. I'll see you guys then.